Our movie begins in the magical village of Oz, where animals are enslaved and forced to carry the heaviest stones, moving them from one place to another. As part of the spreading evil, we see an announcement declaring that the village still stands firm in its position and completely refuses the presence of animals among them, considering them enemies. Suddenly, they sense unusual movement from the surrounding animals, and it seems, God knows best, that the iron chains binding them are coming loose. At this point, the security guard tells everyone to evacuate the area immediately because the Wicked Witch has returned on her broomstick, and she is the reason behind everything happening now. Indeed, at that very moment, we see Elphaba flying in and attacking them one by one, freeing the animals. As soon as she turns her back, flying monkeys rush toward her. Since this is a magical village, it's perfectly normal for monkeys to fly. So she decides to retreat, grabs her broom, and runs away. Because in situations like these, running is half the bravery. As news spreads faster than anything else, we see Madame Morrible appearing in the middle of the village, singing loudly and warning everyone to hide their children, because the Wicked Witch has returned. She reminds them of Elphaba's past and claims that all Elphaba wants is to break the words of the Wizard of Oz, who controls the village, and spread corruption everywhere, just like she did before when she turned the monkeys into winged creatures. Morrible emphasizes again that the wizard's opinions are the right ones, and that animals are the villains in this story, which is why he wants them expelled from the village. Later, we find Elphaba responding with a song, but inside her small cave, because no one wants to hear her or even see her, they're afraid of her appearance because of her green skin. She tries to defend herself, explaining that the Wizard of Oz took advantage of her years ago when she was new to the world of magic, tricked her into experimenting with a spell from a magic book, and only cared about controlling the village and expelling the innocent animals. She then notices a book she received as a gift from her friend Glinda, who studied magic with her at school. Her face shows deep sadness, realizing there was betrayal involved. By that time, Glinda had transformed into Good Glinda, the kind witch. Out of sheer kindness, she completely forgot her old friend, who was expelled from the village and treated horribly. Glinda continued living normally in Oz, accepting all its beliefs and ideas, surrounded by a team that fulfills her wishes and keeps her comfortable. Her assistant informs her about a celebration planned for the next week to honor her. No one really knows why, but apparently people see something special in her. Because Glinda is extremely kind and optimistic, she seriously suggests creating a brand called Good, just for diversity. The assistant is amazed by her creativity. When she enters her room, she finds Madame Morrible waiting, clearly irritated. Morrible shuts the door on the assistants and informs Glinda that her old friend has returned and is causing chaos throughout the village. They have no time for childish games because they're planning to open the stone road soon. Elphaba's return has affected people's mood, and no one can cheer them up except Glinda. Morrible also presents her with a flying chair surrounded by a big bubble, like soap bubbles. Glinda's pure spirit takes over. She starts playing with the chair and bubble, completely forgetting about her friend and all the disasters happening. Morrible tolerates this behavior, treating her like a child, and explains that the wizard insisted on making this chair so Glinda would appear magically talented. After all, how could she be called a good witch if she couldn't even fly? And since she's a witch, she obviously needs a pink magic wand to complete the look. At this moment, Glinda has a flashback to her 7th birthday, the first time she received a magic wand. She tried to show her powers to her friends, but realized she had none. She attempted to hide it, convincing herself she probably mispronounced the spell, and tried again confidently, but failed again. Luckily, someone noticed a rainbow in the sky, and everyone assumed Glinda created it herself. Only Madame Morrible noticed Glinda's sadness, knowing that Glinda's biggest dream was to become a real witch. Morrible tried to comfort her, reminding her that everyone loves her and that this love is a rare blessing. Later, Morrible organizes a small celebration and gathers all the villagers. Glinda takes this opportunity to arrive dramatically on her flying chair, singing for about 10 minutes to lift everyone's spirits. After she finishes, Morrible announces that the handsome young man standing behind Glinda is Fiero, her lover, recently appointed as a commander in the army created by the wizard specifically to capture Elphaba. Fiero looks shocked. He doesn't know when he and Glinda became lovers. They were only classmates at magic school. When he tries to speak, Morrible redirects the conversation, insisting on knowing his feelings about the engagement. He suddenly realizes he's being pushed into marriage and asks Glinda quietly when they got engaged. Glinda, who has loved him for years, is thrilled and explains they're doing this to make people happy. She starts singing again. Afterward, Fiyero pulls her aside, unable to accept that everyone views Elphaba as evil. He knew her at school and believes she's good. Glinda admits she's not happy about the accusations either, claiming she's only trying to help people. But Fiyero realizes she's acting selfishly, blinded by the spotlight and public admiration. Glinda reminds him that Elphaba chose to run away and doesn't want anyone to find her, so why should they stop their lives for her? Fiyero gives in and agrees to the engagement. Suddenly, Elphaba appears in the sky, riding on the clouds that Oz is lying. Morrible alters the message, twisting it into a threat against the wizard, and screams at the Wicked Witch wants to kill their beloved wizard. The villagers become even more terrified. When Elphaba sees the flying monkeys approaching, she escapes quickly, with Fiyero and the soldiers chasing her, though she easily gets away. Back in her cave, Elphaba is devastated and recalls her school days with Glinda, Fiyero, and her sister Nessarose, when they were happy together. We then see Nessarose ruling her land, sitting on her throne. Elphaba belonged to a ruling family, but their late father treated her harshly because of her green skin. A soldier enters asking Nessarose to sign a new law requiring animals to obtain travel permits. Bach, her assistant and close friend, is shocked. Nessarose explains that her land is the only one that hasn't enforced this law yet, and she must sign it. Otherwise, people will accuse her of being evil like her sister. When Bach becomes upset, Nessarose reminds him that Elphaba abandoned her during her hardest time and didn't even attend their father's funeral. Bach understands her pain, but insists he must travel to Oz and live his own life. Nessarose pretends not to care, but immediately issues a decree preventing anyone from leaving without her permission. At the station, Bach is stopped for lacking a permit, issued only minutes earlier. He realizes she's manipulating him out of fear of loneliness. Meanwhile, Elphaba discovers the animals have built a secret tunnel to escape before the wizard captures or imprisons them. She tries to convince them that the land is theirs and that she's trying to help, but they don't trust her. A tiger accuses her of giving monkeys wings. She's hurt, knowing it happened against her will. She then reunites with Dulcibert, her old friend from the days when animals lived safely among humans. He explains that escaping beyond Oz is their only option, even though the land beyond is dangerous and empty. Elphaba insists they should stay and fight, but they don't believe her. Later, Bach brings tea to Nessarose, clearly upset. On his way out, he finds a flyer announcing Glinda's engagement to Fiyero and secretly hides it. Moments later, Elphaba appears before Nessarose, asking for help. Nessarose refuses, blaming her for everything and accusing her of abandoning the family. Elphaba insists she's not there to reopen old wounds. She just wants to save the animals. When emotional appeals fail, Elphaba reminds Nessarose of how she used to be happy at school when Bach cared for her. She suggests that instead of using magic on animals, she should use it on her sister and make her walk again. Elphaba casts a spell, allowing Nessarose to rise and fly. At that moment, Bach walks in, terrified by the sight. He demands to know what Elphaba is doing, but when he sees Nessarose genuinely happy, he confesses his love for Glinda and his desire to travel to Oz before she gets married. Nessarose loses control, rushes to the magic book, and attempts a love spell. She mispronounces it, and suddenly Bach can't breathe, his heart pounding wildly. He collapses and loses consciousness. Nessarose panics and urgently begs Elphaba to do something, anything, or reverse the spell. Elphaba rushes out of the room to deal with it herself. After about 15 minutes, she comes back and reassures Nessarose that he's okay, just needs a rest, so she shouldn't disturb him. As Elphaba is about to leave, her sister asks sarcastically, "Where are you going?" "To the wedding, right? To catch your dear Fiyero before he marries your friend." Elphaba is deeply hurt. Her sister has never truly understood her, so she walks away and leaves her behind. Suddenly, Bach smashes the door with his own hands to get out. It turns out that to save him, our beautiful, which transformed him into a tin man. When he sees himself, he goes into shock and wants to kill Nessa Rose to get revenge. She saves herself by claiming it wasn't her fault and that Elphaba did this to him. Meanwhile, Glinda the bride is getting ready for her wedding. Suddenly, the window glass shatters, and she immediately realizes Elphaba is nearby. This always happens when she's angry. Glinda goes out onto the balcony and calls to her, trying to get her inside before the flying monkeys see her. When she turned around, Elphaba is right in front of her. Glinda quickly pulls her into the room and hugs her tightly. She's missed her so much. Glinda tries to convince Elphaba that she must talk to the Wizard of Oz. It's not normal for her to spend her whole life running. She insists on helping her reach a compromise. Before she can even finish, Elphaba is already gone. She's on her way to confront the wizard, either to reason with him or kill him, whichever comes first. Glinda rushes after her, because it's unthinkable that Elphaba would cause a disaster on her wedding day. Elphaba confronts the wizard, warning him that she can expose him to the entire village, that he's not a real wizard and can't even read the spells in the magic book. He laughs mockingly, certain no one would ever believe her, because the villagers trust him blindly. He proposes a deal instead. Rather than endless conflict, he'll give her what she wants and free the animals, so they can live peacefully among the people. Elphaba believes him. She has no other option. He proves it by opening the gates of the prison holding the flying monkeys, whom he had been exploiting to spy on neighboring cities. Elphaba is overjoyed as she watches him fly free. The wizard tells her he's going to prepare for the wedding, and that she's free to roam the palace. It's her home now. Once he leaves, the monkey Chistry, king of the monkeys, approaches her and gestures toward a panel on the floor. When she doesn't understand, he pushes it aside himself, revealing a massive hidden prison filled with animals locked inside iron cages. Among them is Dr. Dillamond, their former magic teacher. When she tries to speak to him, she realizes he has lost the ability to speak entirely. As if sensing something wrong, the wizard returns at that very moment and starts backpedaling, claiming it's all just a misunderstanding and that animals can't be trusted to live freely among people. Elphaba counters that he himself is free and unharmed. She uses magic to unlock all the cages, freeing the animals, who flee immediately before they can attack him. At the same time, good Glinda appears in her white wedding dress with her beloved Fiero. Before the wedding ceremony can be completed, the animals storm in. Fiero leaves the bride, the guests, and the animals behind and runs. He's sure Elphaba is responsible. When he reaches the wizard's office, he pulls out his gun and points it at Elphaba. She's stunned. Back at school, there was mutual attraction between them, but he was supposed to marry her friend. Suddenly, he changes his aim and points the gun at the wizard instead, saying, "Do you really think I defend you?" He locks the wizard in the dungeon to let him experience captivity himself. Good Glinda arrives and can't believe what she's seeing. Her fiancé betraying her with her friend on her wedding day, and betraying the wizard as well. Fiero shocks them both by announcing he's leaving with Elphaba. He grabs her hand, and they run. Glinda breaks down and transforms into a more hardened version of herself. She decides to bring out her worst side and tells Madame Morrible that the easiest way to capture Elphaba is by controlling her sister. She then walks through her wedding hall one last time, heartbroken, never imagining her wedding day would end like this. Elphaba and Fiero return to the cave. There's nowhere else to hide. Elphaba can't believe Fiero gave up everything to be with her. He tells her she's beautiful in his eyes because he sees the beauty within her. Madame Morrible executes Glinda's plan on a much larger scale. She conjures a massive storm and sends it directly to Nessa Rose, destroying the house over her head. Elphaba hears her sister calling out for Bach and has a vision of the house collapsing. She says goodbye to Fiero and rushes to her sister. The next day, Glinda stands before Nessa Rose's body, deeply affected by her death. She has almost returned to being truly good again. Elphaba arrives to say goodbye as well. Glinda tries to comfort her, saying it's horrible to have an entire house fall on you. Elphaba explodes in anger. Glinda treats it like a mere accident, while Elphaba is certain the wizard is responsible. What she doesn't know is that Glinda herself suggested the plan. Glinda remembers the wedding and how Elphaba took her fiancé. She slaps Elphaba, who slaps her back just as hard. The fight escalates until soldiers surround them. Elphaba realizes Glinda had a hand in her sister's death. At that moment, Fiyero arrives to save her, aiming his weapon at Glinda, the only way to make the soldiers back off. Though Glinda is deeply upset, she orders the soldiers to stand down. Elphaba doesn't want to leave Fiyero behind, fearing they'll kill him, but he reassures her that he can handle it and that her safety is what matters. As Elphaba flies away on her broom, the soldier sees Fiyero and take him away for punishment. Elphaba runs to her cave and opens a spell book, searching for a spell to help Fiyero survive the torture, to keep him alive no matter what they do to him. As she repeats the spell, heartbroken, she loses hope. She doesn't even understand the spell's meaning or whether it will help or harm him. She decides to turn all the goodness inside her into darkness to avenge everyone she has loved and lost because of the wizard. Madame Morrible informs the wizard that a girl and 3 companions have arrived from Kansas. One made of metal, one of straw, and one extremely nervous. They all share the same goal, to kill the Wicked Witch, so they're on the same path and can be easily exploited. Strangely, as they enter, the girl is wearing the same ruby slippers that Nessarose inherited from her mother, suggesting she might still be alive, transformed as well. The villagers gather around Bach as he tells them Elphaba turned him into this form and that she will pay dearly. When Glinda sees him, she's devastated. She never imagined they would be torn apart like this. In moments like these, the artist sings to unleash her inner strength. Glinda finally realizes the illusion she's been living in. She confronts Morrible about the storm that caused Nessarose's death. Morrible snaps and tells her bluntly that good Glinda was just a role they created to control the people. If Glinda keeps believing and acting like it's real, she won't like the consequences. Glinda decides to change and become strong Glinda. She dons a black shawl, mounts her horse, and rides at Elphaba's cave. Elphaba is holding a girl from Oz captive to frighten the wizard. Glinda asks her to release the girl. She's innocent. But Elphaba no longer cares about anything except revenge. Chistry arrives with a piece of Fiyero's jacket and tells him that, sadly, he has died. Both women break down in tears. Elphaba regains control and urges Glinda to return to the palace quickly. If they find her here, they'll hate her too. If someone must play the villain, Elphaba is willing to take that role. For the first time, Glinda truly wants to help, but Elphaba refuses. She says it's too late and hands Glinda the magic book, asking her to hide it by any means necessary, because every spell inside ultimately turns dark. Suddenly, they hear the soldiers approaching. Elphaba hides Glinda and goes out to face them alone. Glinda hears Elphaba crying as the soldiers splash her with water, causing her to vanish completely. All that remains are her broom and the black hat she always wore. Chistry then brings Glinda the green bottle Elphaba always kept under her pillow while sleeping. When Glinda gives the bottle to the wizard, he's shocked. He realizes the bitter truth that Elphaba was his daughter. He had given that bottle to her mother the day she betrayed her husband with him. Glinda uses this knowledge to her advantage and orders the wizard to pack his things and leave the village immediately, threatening to expose him. After dealing with him, she goes after Morrible, sending the flying monkeys to carry her off into the sky and handle her. Glinda then puts on a crown and addresses the villagers, declaring herself queen. From that day on, animals will live among them in complete freedom, because she wants to truly be good Glinda. As for Elphaba, we discover she's actually alive, hiding in an underground passage. Fiyero is alive too, though he's been partially transformed into a lion by her spell. The important thing is that he survived. They escaped together to a distant place, away from Oz, to live peacefully. In the final moments, Glinda stands on the balcony singing. Suddenly, the magic book opens before her, meaning she has finally gained real magical powers. This video was written by Mona Baimi, recorded by Mohammed Taher, that's me, and produced by Ahmed Al-Arabi. Peace.